Today, we are really getting into it. Leviticus chapter 9, a huge moment.
Absolutely. This is the inauguration, really, the start of the official priesthood for Aaron and his sons.
And our focus is unpacking all these, well, pretty intense rituals. The text spells out a clear goal for all this activity.
It says, it's all done so that the glory of the Lord may appear. Quite the objective.
Definitely sets the stakes high right from the start. So let's paint the picture. Who's actually there for this?
Well, the text says Moses gets everyone involved. You've got Aaron, his sons, obviously.
The priest-to-be.
Exactly. And the elders of Israel, and then it says the entire assembly, so basically everyone.
All gathered right at the entrance of the tent of meeting, a very public, communal setting.
And Moses doesn't waste time. He lays out the plan, starting with what Aaron and his sons need to do for themselves.
Right, for themselves first.
Yeah.
What was required.
A bull calf for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. And the text stresses this point. Both have to be without defect, perfect animals.
Okay, that detail, that they need offerings for themselves before anything else, it feels pretty important. What's that telling us?
Well, it immediately highlights that even these guys, set apart for this holy role, aren't automatically pure. They need atonement, too.
So their own standing has to be addressed first.
Precisely. Before they can represent the people, they have to sort of get right themselves. It shows this universal need for reconciliation, you know?
Yeah, like you said, it levels the playing field in a way. Okay, so after Aaron and his sons' requirements, what about the offerings for the whole community?
Moses relays those instructions through Aaron. The Israelites need to bring, let's see, a male goat for their sin offering, a calf and a lamb for the burnt offering, both yearlings, again, without defect.
That phrase again.
Yep. Plus an ox and a ram for a fellowship offering, and also a grain offering mixed with oil, all flawless.
So a whole suite of offerings, priests covered, people covered, different animals, maybe different symbolic meanings.
Seems likely. Sin offering, burnt offering, fellowship offering, they each address slightly different aspects of the relationship with the divine.
Okay, so Aaron steps up. He goes to the altar, starts with his own sacrifices, just like Moses said. Walk us through those actions.
Right, so for his sin offering, the bull calf, he slaughters it. His sons handled the blood initially.
And what does Aaron do with the blood?
He takes some with his finger, puts it on the horns of the altar, the projections at the corner.
At the horns.
And the rest of the blood. Poured out at the base of the altar.
Any idea why the horns specifically?
It often seems to represent sanctifying the altar, like activating its power as the place of connection and atonement. The horns are sort of the highest points.
Makes sense. And pouring the rest at the base.
Maybe symbolizing the total giving up of the life represented by the blood. Then there are specific parts of the animal, the fat, the kidneys, a piece of the liver.
The choice bits, perhaps?
You could say that. Those are burned on the altar. A direct offering.
But not the whole animal.
Not for the sin offering, no. The rest of it, the flesh, the hide that gets taken outside the camp and burned there.
A key distinction. Away from the sacred space and the community living area.
Exactly. Dealing with the impurity requires its complete removal.
Got it. Then he does his own burnt offering, the ram.
Yep, that one's different. Cut up, washed, and the whole thing goes up in smoke on the altar. Total devotion.
Making atonement for himself, clearing the way.
That seems to be the idea. He completes his personal offerings before turning to the people's sacrifices.
So then he repeats the process, essentially for the people. The goat for their sin offering, the calf and lamb for their burnt offering.
Correct. Following the prescribed methods for each type. And he adds the grain offering, too.
And what about that fellowship offering for the people? The ox and ram.
Similar process in some ways. Blood splashed on the altar sides, fat portions burned. But there's a unique action mentioned. Aaron takes the breasts and the right thigh.
Yes, I remember reading that. He waves them. A wave offering.
That's right, waves them back and forth before the Lord.
What's the significance there? Waving. And those specific parts.
Well, the waving is often interpreted as a kind of presentation dedicating it to God, acknowledging his sovereignty over it.
Okay.
And the breast and thigh, often considered prime portions. These parts, after being waved, would typically become the priest's share to eat. Sustenance provided via the offering, but only after acknowledging the divine source.
So all these details, applying blood here, burning this there, waving these parts, it's incredibly specific.
Absolutely meticulous, and the text ties it all back to that purpose, making atonement for himself and for the people.
Right, preparing the way for, well, for what comes next. After all the sacrifices are done, Aaron lifts his hands.
and blesses the people, a priestly act.
But it's not quite the climax yet, is it? There's another step.
Correct. Then Moses and Aaron together go into the tent of meeting. We don't know what happens inside, but when they come out.
They bless the people again. A second blessing.
And that's the moment, the culmination of everything. The text says, right after that second blessing, the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people.
Wow. Just wow. Imagine being in that assembly. And then, as if that weren't enough.
Fire. Fire comes out from the presence of the Lord.
Not just any fire. Divine fire.
And it consumes the burnt offering and the fat portion sitting there on the altar, a direct, visible response.
Acceptance. Confirmation.
Undeniable. And the people's reaction.
They see it, they shout for joy, and they fall face down. A mix of elation and absolute awe.
It's powerful imagery. It shows that, in the view of this text, following the procedures exactly, bringing the perfect offerings, performing the atonement rituals, it worked. It achieved the goal.
The glory did appear. The connection was established.
It really sets the stage, showing how this relationship, this ministry, is meant to function from the get-go. Precision matters. Obedience matters.
So we've seen the gathering, the meticulous instructions, the step-by-step rituals for both priests and people, the goal of atonement, and this incredible fiery climax showing divine acceptance.
A foundational narrative for how interaction with the sacred is understood here. It links human action directly to divine manifestation.
Which brings us to something really interesting for you to chew on. What does this intense focus on perfection in offerings, on such detailed procedure, and on needing this visible, fiery proof of acceptance? What does that reveal about the nature of the relationship being set up here? What conditions does it imply are necessary for divine presence right at the start of this whole system?